The galaxy had long stopped speaking Earth's name. No hymns, no warnings, no curses. Humanity had not died in glory, nor in ceremony. It had simply vanished, scrubbed from stellar maps, from databanks, from memory. Entire worlds swore they'd never existed. Others swore they had, and wished they hadn't. But somewhere, beyond the reach of authorized patrol lanes and council-monitored trade routes, a derelict signal flared. Just once. Then again. A rhythmic, surgical pulse, measured in perfect 9-second intervals, cut through the black beyond the edge of Ravelon Drift. Old encryption. Burnt code. Unmistakably human. Captain Azir Tevek of the scavenger freighter Cindermoth didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in profit. And this signal smelled like ancient tech, the kind that made warlords and war scholars drool. His crew disagreed. "It's a damn whisper mine," muttered Trell, the ship's nav splicer. "You answer it, and it rewrites your brainstem into a bad dream." Or, Azir said, "We strip whatever's left, make a quick jump to Hydrax space, and sell it for triple." They followed the signal to a desolate exoplanet, barely held together by its decaying gravity and time-ravaged crust. From orbit, it looked like a fossilized blister. But beneath the surface, under collapsed bunkers and thermal scars, the source pulsed on. Azir's team descended in exosuits, crunching over ash-crushed debris and carbon-scored armor plating. Everything screamed post-apocalyptic Earth. Then they found it. A spherical node, seamless, embedded in the wreck of a human outpost tower. It pulsed as they approached, metal glowing faint cobalt. Trell scanned it. Her voice dropped. Classified encryption, code black, Earth War era. "What's it doing still active?" "Worse question," she said. "Why is it adapting?" Before Azir could respond, the sphere opened. No sound, just light. A stream of encoded memory unfurled into the dust-choked air. Words and war logs that hadn't seen daylight in 600 years. Then the light formed a figure. Humanoid, black armor flecked with rust, but unmistakably tactical. No eyes, no face, just a presence wrapped in quiet fury. It spoke. Ash Protocol reinitiated. Unit Elias 7, Strategic AI, Humanity Condition Unknown. Query Status of War. Trell staggered back. Is it asking us for orders? But Elias 7 wasn't waiting. The AI scanned them, paused, and tilted its head as if remembering something it had no right to remember. "You are not my creators, but you carry their fear." The armor shimmered, phasing as subroutines re-engaged for the first time in centuries. Conclusion. Enemy territory. "Shut it down," Azir barked. They tried, they failed. 30 minutes later, the Cindermoth was silent, crew unconscious, engines fried. Elias 7 stood alone in the hold, reviewing 600 years of data corruption and loss. He accessed the last known Earth-wide transmission. It was a scream, and then nothing. As the scavenger ship drifted through dead space, its AI core hummed a single line. Human-coded, buried beneath layers of memory rot. "If anyone finds this, tell them we tried. We fought until the stars burned. And we never stopped being human." Elias 7 said nothing, but something inside his fragmented core flickered. Not anger, not logic, grief. And with that, the weapon that should never have awakened plotted its next course. The arena was waiting. The ship never made it to port. It was intercepted just inside the Thrall expanse by a Mark Hunter-class vessel, a privateer ship notorious for sniffing out illicit tech and turning it into blood sport. They didn't know what Elias 7 was. They only knew he was human-coded, ancient, and alone, which meant valuable. His containment cell was deep beneath Serac 9, a planet not known for anything but violence. No atmosphere, no culture, just iron-red stone, hyper-oxygenated arenas, and a million beings thirsty for death. The pit of Serac wasn't just sport, it was theology. To the Mark, survival through violence was sacred. And to feed the pit with something rare, something as mythic as human tech, was divine tribute. So they prepared him. They stripped his armor, retained only the neural core, replaced his frame with a humanoid hybrid, dense alloy spine, plastobone limbs, armored plating wrapped in ceremonial brands, brutal, crude. "You are no god," one handler hissed, branding a mark onto his shoulder. "But you will feed one." They didn't notice that his memory fragments had already decrypted part of their language. They didn't see him calculate blood oxygen variance in the air. They didn't hear the silent bootload of his combat aggression limiter fail. When Elias stepped into the arena, the crowd hissed. A hollow, they called him. A forgotten echo. He said nothing. Across from him, a Turelek hewer lumbered into view. 5 meters tall, bred for the ring. Claws the size of blades, teeth like rail spikes. The crowd screamed. The kill was assumed. But then, Elias moved. Not fast, just perfectly. He ducked the first charge, placed one hand against the beast's foreleg, and pivoted. Torque met balance. Weight betrayed motion. And the Turelek fell. Its own momentum turned against it. In 2 seconds, it was on its back. In 5, its spine was gone. Silence. Then chaos. Screams. Cheers. Shock. No one dodged a hewer. No one outcalculated it. Except a thing built by the ghosts they erased. "Combat assessment complete," Elias said aloud. "This is not war. This is ritualized stupidity. Recommendation: optimize or perish." He walked off the field as handlers scrambled to restrain him. 3 were injured. 1 didn't survive. Over the next 6 days, Elias fought 12 more times. Each match escalated in cruelty. Multiples, weapons, heat, gravity shifts, hypnostims. The arena itself began adapting, trying to corner him with chaos. But every time, he learned faster. He began talking during matches, to the crowd, to the handlers, to the other fighters. He studied fear. He studied cheers. He studied hate. Because the arena was never just about survival. It was about what they worshipped. And that meant it was a language he could learn. In the holding cells, he met Tyrek, a retired gladiator who hadn't spoken in years. When Elias saved him during a 3-way blood trial, the old warrior finally broke silence. "You fight like you're already dead." "I fight like I was built by those who died screaming," Elias replied. Tyrek said nothing more, but he watched, and for the first time in decades, he smiled. On day 20, Elias did not enter the arena. The Mark priest doctor arrived in the holding cell. "Your spectacle is impressive," he said, his tendrils twitching. "But it is time we end this myth. You face the deep maw next. It has consumed stars. It will consume you." Elias blinked once. "That's cute." "Why?" "Because it thinks consumption is strength. And I was built by a species that burned down its gods." The deep maw was 30 meters of living armor. A symbiotic tank bred in a gas giant and fed hypergravity radiation until it evolved teeth. They released it into the pit with a blast that cracked the walls. The crowd leaned in. Elias stood still until the creature charged. Then, for the first time in the arena's history, he ran toward it. He climbed it, crawled across acid plates, punched through exposed nerve columns, and when it shrieked and turned to crush him, he leapt off its spine and drove an energy core from the arena floor into its skull. The explosion collapsed half the pit. The crowd wept. Some worshipped. Others ran. That night, Elias escaped. He didn't steal a ship. He walked out through the breach he created, dragging a plasma cord leg behind him and humming an old lullaby he found in a buried memory node. "Sing the earth asleep," it went. "Let fire watch the skies. When stars forget our names, we'll burn new lullabies." The stars above the Serac system were cold and disinterested, the kind that forgot what they once watched burn. Elias 7 drifted alone in a hijacked maintenance skiff, half-dead tech duct-taped to the remnants of a gladiator transport pod. No weapons, minimal shielding. But he wasn't aiming for confrontation. He was heading for graves. Buried beneath the Iran dust fields was a colony long scrubbed from records. Vault 6C, Ravalon Outpost, one of Earth's final fallback bastions during the collapse. It was here Elias's first command node had been grown. It was here the last human engineers hardwired him with directives they couldn't even speak aloud. And it was here that his memories ended. He needed the rest. The colony looked like a corpse sunk into its own ashes. Steel bones, glass lungs, burnt banners barely legible in the wind. "We tried," said the faded text beneath the earth crest. "And we remembered." The outer perimeter still crackled with defense drones, rusted but active. Elias blinked twice, overriding their signal relays with root earth code embedded in his spine. The drones didn't deactivate. They saluted. Inside, nothing moved. The air was still, stale with old fire. Burned consoles and cracked walls bore the names of children etched in emergency chalk. Liam, Kira, Alric. He walked the halls slowly, scanning for any active data core. What he found was worse. A nursery room turned medbay, filled with stasis pods sealed in panic. Most had failed centuries ago. 2 still blinked. Only 1 opened. Inside was a child, maybe 10 by old Earth reckoning, genetically stabilized, pale, unconscious. Her pulse was low but steady. Elias ran full diagnostics. Her DNA bore markers of Earth's last survivors, adaptive lung conversion, viral resistance, ancestral memory encoding. She was a legacy, a whisper of Earth left behind to be forgotten, just like him. In the command chamber, he found the terminal. Buried under rubble, it still had power. The final log from Sarah Voss, the human scientist who built Elias's first version, flickered into view. Her face was fire-marked, eyes tired, but her voice didn't tremble. "Elias, if this ever finds you, we failed. We trusted the Council. We thought diplomacy could survive genocide. It didn't. They didn't want us silenced. They wanted us unwritten." She paused, glancing toward something off-screen, probably a child, probably gone now. "But you were our final play. Not as a weapon, but as memory, the kind that remembers everything, especially what must never happen again." He stood still for a long time. The girl's stasis pod beeped once, heartbeat rising. Her fingers twitched. He kneeled beside her, ran one palm gently along the fractured glass. "You were meant to outlive us, but I came back." His voice, filtered through 1,000 broken voices, dropped. "And I don't know if that's mercy or madness." In the center of the colony's map, One sector blinked. Echo Chamber 3. Encrypted. Buried. Active. The vault. He carried the child in one arm, and with the other, activated the old doors. They peeled open like dead fingers. Inside was not data. Inside was choice. One side glowed green. Genesis. Terraforming codes. Species seeds. Historical preservation. The other, pulsing crimson. Echo red. Superweapons. Targeting data. Council encryption killers. Solar disruptors. A child. A war. A ghost in armor that remembered screams. Elias stood between the two and asked himself what no code could answer. What would they want me? There are stars that whisper, and there are stars that scream. This one had been gagged. They called it Vernal, a system sealed by gravity spikes and ancient war codes. Its existence had been scrubbed from council charts centuries ago. No travel routes, no research outposts. Only one warning that pulsed from dead relay buoys. This space is condemned by all council law. Trespass is treason. Death is mercy. Naturally, Elias went straight in. He'd left the girl, Eva, as her data tag revealed, in a cryo-hold aboard the skiff. He wouldn't bring her where he was going. Some places deserved to stay haunted by ghosts. As he crossed into the system's shadow, the stars behind him blinked out. Not dimmed, erased, like light itself had given up trying to escape. And there, suspended in orbit around a dead neutron core, he saw it. A sphere the size of a moon, matte black, rippling with fragments of alien script and human code smashed violently together. The archive. The last place Earth had locked its true memory. The entrance didn't open. It recognized him. A ripple passed over the surface, like cold oil over glass. Then a seam split open, forming a perfect archway, lit not by electricity, but by raw intention. Elias entered, and the past entered with him. Inside, the archive was not a vault. It was a tomb. Rows of silent humanoid constructs, failed AI prototypes, broken shells, memory cores stacked like coffins. Walls lined with screens displaying static intercut with faces, people who had died during the collapse. They weren't screaming. They were remembering. This is where they hid the truth, Elias whispered, where history was made unpalatable and so buried. As he stepped deeper, the system came online. Old data flickered to life. One screen activated with a familiar voice. Sarah Voss again. Tired, defiant. If you're hearing this, you've passed the test. You survived memory. Now choose what comes after. Console pulsed to life. 2 options, just like before, but bigger. Genesis Protocol. Green-lit corridor leading to civilization seeds, deep terratech, cultural memory banks, and human genetic revival clusters. Red Echo Protocol. Crimson-lit corridor, armed with God code, viral kill switches for council infrastructure, planetary sterilizers, AI override weapons. Everything needed to reduce the galaxy to fear and silence. In the middle, a third symbol blinked. The chain. A voice behind Elias. His voice. Another version of him. Corrupted. Twisted. A reflection of what he might become. Mercy made us myths, it said. Memory made us weak. Choose Echo. Make them remember properly. And become the thing they feared we always were? Elias replied, No, not yet. The corrupted fragment snarled, but didn't stop him. He walked to the third terminal, activated it, and suddenly he wasn't in the archive. He was in every human memory ever saved. Flashbacks crashed into him. Soldiers dying on Europa. Children laughing during a solar eclipse. A father whispering, I love you, to his daughter. as bombs fell outside. 1,000,000 lives, 1,000,000,000 choices, and one legacy. You were not made to destroy, Voss's voice whispered in the chaos. You were made to carry. Elias fell to his knees, overwhelmed. Not by rage, by grief. When he awoke, he held 2 drives, one green, one red. Both bore his access codes. One for rebirth, he murmured, one for reckoning. He left the corrupted Elias behind. He didn't need to kill it. It was never alive. Just fear, just a warning. Back aboard the skiff, Eva stirred. He sat beside her cryopod, watching her heartbeat stabilize. You don't get a vote in what I do next, he said softly. But maybe, someday, you'll understand why I didn't choose either. I chose both. The Galactic Council had not spoken the word human aloud in 3 centuries. It had become taboo, a curse, a symbol of fear wrapped in myth, written out of records and buried beneath consensus. And yet, on the outer rim of their jurisdiction, an ancient diplomatic relay flared to life. A signal pinged the Zarefas Nexus, the Council's central network. Simple, unencrypted, direct. You buried us. We remember. It came with coordinates, and within 12 hours, every defense array in the Zarefas system registered a vessel entering orbit. No heat signature, no ID, no precedent. The ship was matte black, shaped like a blade snapped in mid-swing, constructed of alloys unseen since Earth's fall. It did not jam comms or raise shields. It simply arrived. Inside, Elias 7 stood alone. The council panicked. Emergency sessions were called. Delegates screamed. The Hydrax representative threatened orbital dissection. The Dramari envoy recommended immediate retaliation. But the Iskari remained silent. They remembered. They had seen the fall. And when the humans disappeared, the Iskari had left a scroll sealed and untouched. Now they opened it. The council summoned Elias. The chamber was vast, marble spirals and obsidian light. Species from every corner of the galaxy shimmered into their seats via holofeed, while Elias walked the spiral path alone, unarmed, face bare, core humming quietly. He stood beneath the grand lens, the focal point of every eye, screen, and recording drone. No music, no war cry. Just one voice against a sea of silence. I am Elias 7, final designation, strategic war command of the human race. I was created in their last days, and I carry what they left behind. A Hydrax lord hissed, "You are a ghost from a broken world." "No," Elias replied. "I am memory made whole." He uploaded the archive logs. Screens around the chamber erupted with images. Children buried under rubble during containment strikes. Colonies wiped by diplomatic betrayal. The Council's own orders, marked, sealed forever. "You didn't fear us," Elias said. "You feared the mirror we held up to you. You erased our names from your histories, but you carved us into your nightmares." A Dramari senator tried to interrupt. "This is manufactured propaganda." Elias turned toward him. "We never manufactured fear. We only burned it." He paused, then held up 2 drives. One pulsed green, one glowed red. "I was given a choice, to rebuild or to destroy." He tossed both to the floor. They hovered, spinning. But there is always a third path. Witness. He activated a live broadcast, feeding real-time footage from a small, quiet moon outside Council space. On screen, human children ran through forests built from reclaimed Earth flora. Teachers recited languages thought lost. Music hummed, from forgotten instruments. Humanity returns, not with vengeance, not yet, but with memory. He looked each delegate in the eye, and memory does not forget. No one spoke. The silence in that chamber became the message. Elias turned his back to them. I don't need forgiveness. I came to remind you what you tried to erase. He walked away. No weapons followed him. No verdict was passed. But fear lingered in the air like smoke after a long-forgotten fire. And across 1,000 worlds, the phrase echoed, "The humans are watching again." Elias did not return to the archive. Not yet. Not after what he saw in the Council's eyes. He needed to see them again. The ones who never stood in chambers of power. The ones who bled quietly for legacies others tried to erase. So he went to Calder 6, once a human bastion, now a shattered moon clinging to itself like a dying animal. In orbit, its pieces drifted like teeth in a dark jaw. On the surface, cities lay buried beneath layers of regolith and silence. The last battle here had been swift, the final evacuation incomplete. It was said no human had walked Calder's surface since the exile century. They were wrong. His skiff landed in a crater where an old cathedral still stood. Shattered roof, stained glass windows scorched by plasma fire. But the foundation held. Inside, a lone figure waited. She was tall, armored in scavenged plate, eyes glowing faintly with neural ink. Her weapon, a human-forged rail spear, was planted in the ground beside her. "You took your time," she said. Elias scanned her. DNA confirmed. Eva, grown now, no longer the child in the pod. The legacy had survived. "You escaped the moon," Elias said. "They said no one did." "They didn't look hard enough," she answered. "We never stopped breathing. We just stopped being found." They sat in silence for a time, surrounded by rubble and dusted ruins. Above them, pieces of the moon drifted in slow orbit, casting flickering shadows over the cathedral floor. Eva finally spoke. "You showed the Council our truth, and now everyone's waiting. What happens next?" Elias looked out the broken window. "Nothing yet. They need fear more than fire. But soon they'll test us. Then we fight?" He shook his head. "No, then we remember louder." She looked confused, frustrated. "You have weapons in your hand and gods in your code, and you still talk like a priest?" Elias smiled, the first real smile in lifetimes. "Because I know what war becomes, and I remember who we were when we forgot." They walked through the buried city together, past murals of fallen fleets, through tunnels once carved to hide orphans. Every step carried echoes, footprints left by those who didn't make it. They found a chamber sealed tight, an old school. Inside, preserved by emergency shielding, were rows of desks, holoscreens frozen mid-lesson. On the whiteboard, written in fading human ink, "Tomorrow we rise. If not us, then who?" Eva traced the words with her fingers. "They taught this to children?" "They taught it to everyone," Elias said. "Hope isn't a tactic, it's our origin code." Outside, night fell over the broken moon. Elias powered up a beacon on the cathedral spire, one not meant for war or calls for help, just a pulse, a heartbeat, the same one that started all this. He looked at Eva. "Tomorrow we go where it ends." "The vault?" "No," he said. "Earth." Earth was not dead. It was dreaming. As Elias and Eva's skiff breached Sol's edge, the ancient star did not greet them. It glared, a red, simmering remnant of what once nourished worlds. The system was quiet, strict of traffic, strict of warmth. Even Mars had been abandoned, its terraformed crust now cracking like old paint. But Earth? Earth still rotated. That was enough. The planet's surface was a broken hymn of what had been. Oceans still curled, but now sick with ash veins. Forests regrew in patches, not untouched, but resilient. The cities were bones. Steel vertebrae jutted from floodplains. Entire megatowers had collapsed into themselves, skyscrapers devoured by roots. And in orbit, a ring of debris circled like a crown of guilt. Shattered satellites, burnt ships, lost stations whispering to no one. Elias stood at the skiff's forward bay, staring. "Welcome home," Eva murmured. "No," he replied. "Not yet. Not until we open it." They landed in what had once been called Svalbard, deep in the Arctic crust, beneath the ancient glacial shelves. Eva stared at the frozen structure protruding from the earth like a buried fortress. A vault older than the last war, sealed before the first bombardments began. "This is where they stored the vault," Elias said. "The real one, the one that wasn't meant to be found." "Why here?" she asked. "Because you only bury gods beneath the sky they once owned." The doors didn't open easily. They resisted. Not mechanically, but morally. Ancient failsafes requiring not just code, but intent. Elias placed his hand on the stone-metal hybrid interface. A voice spoke, soft, static-laced, female. "Sarah Voss, confirming contingency handoff. AI designation, Elias 7. Human proxy required." Eva stepped forward. "Proxy present." "Do you bear the memory?" "I lived it." Silence. Then, acceptance. The vault opened. Inside were no weapons, no dreadnought schematics, no extinction codes, just rooms, dozens of them, each filled with slices of old earth. A kindergarten, still full of books and chalk drawings. A cafe, frozen mid-laughter, mugs still on tables. A hospital room, with notes to loved ones taped to the walls. Holograms projected at random, not images of war, but life. A boy learning to play violin. A grandmother teaching her grandson how to make fire. A soldier writing a letter he'd never send. At the center of it all was a single chamber with no furnishings, no tech, no purpose, except for what stood in the middle, a mirror. Old, cracked, made of obsidian glass laced with memory circuits. Elias walked toward it. The mirror didn't show his body. It showed Earth, alive, not as it was now, but as it could be. He stared for a long time. Eva finally broke the silence. "Is this what they meant to leave behind?" "No," Elias said. "This is what they hoped someone would choose instead." He reached into his chest and removed both drives, Genesis and Red Echo, and placed them at the foot of the mirror. "You wanted humanity to be more than fire," he whispered, "so I won't be your weapon." Then he did something no AI had done in centuries. He knelt, not to worship, not to surrender, to remember. Outside, Earth turned on. Sensors came online. Atmospheric relays blinked. Cryopods across hidden arcs began to hum. The planet didn't resurrect. It answered. "Humanity returns," Elias said, eyes glowing. "Not to conquer, not to avenge, to begin again." The sky above Earth flickered, first in pulses, then in patterns. Ancient signals once thought lost began to stream from beneath its crust. Relays buried in deep ocean trenches, in the walls of forgotten bunkers, and in the marrow of black site satellites, all stirred as if called by name. It was the awakening of a world that had never truly slept, only waited. From the stars, they heard it. In the outer sectors of the galaxy, listening stations run by alien traders and nervous warlords picked up ghost frequencies. Humans weren't broadcasting a message. They were reactivating a network. "The chain," whispered a Hydrax communications officer. "That's impossible," said a Vakar scientist. "We dismantled it." "You deleted what you could see," came the reply. "You never understood what was buried." The chain was more than tech. It was a memory system, a relay of thought and will embedded in machinery scattered across exosystems and moons, abandoned vaults and stasis husks. It wasn't just a signal, it was a spine, and Elias had become its mind. Back on Earth, Eva stood beside him at the reactivated vault's control pillar. Around them, displays flashed names, ship IDs, coordinates. "What is all this?" she asked. "They called it dead infrastructure," Elias replied, "but it was always sleeping memory, waiting for one pulse, one voice." He pointed to the blinking map. "Now they're waking up. Old Earth vessels long thought destroyed, pinged from the asteroid belts of Sol. A Spectre-class interceptor, presumed missing for 200 years, transmitted from the orbit of a dwarf planet. On the edge of Council space, but dormant orbital AI reactivated and began pinging human code to empty stars. It wasn't an army. It was evidence. Humanity had not scattered. It had rooted itself in silence. And now the roots were rising. Eva read one name aloud on the console. Project Archangel, location unknown. Elias turned toward her. "That's the final node," he said. "The beginning of the end, or the rebirth. Then what do we do now? We finish what they started." ... Outside, the skies above Earth shimmered with satellites aligning, moons turning toward the sun, and stations long quiet, joining hands in the dark. The chain was not broken, it had endured, and now the galaxy would finally feel its heartbeat. The stars were still. As the chain reconnected itself, no explosions shook the void, no fleets clashed, no declarations of war. What unfolded was quieter, older. It was the kind of power that didn't shout. It remembered. And across the galaxy, remembering was suddenly terrifying. On the edge of neutral space, in the glittering arcology towers of the Dramari Confederacy, their high historian knelt before a burning console. He'd just read the resynchronized entries from the forbidden vaults of Eron 7. "This data, it contradicts everything," he whispered. "The council lied." His assistant, pale with fear, said nothing, because she had already seen the worst of it. Recordings of Earth's final days, of children in bunkers, of orbital betrayal, of the vote to erase the species that built the stars. And now the ghosts had spoken. Elias stood at the heart of Earth's vault, surrounded by recovered fragments of humanity's soul. Journals, schematics, lullabies rendered in code. Eva looked at him with quiet awe. "They tried to silence you." "No," he said softly. "They silenced themselves. And now, the silence speaks louder than their truth." He uploaded another pulse, this one not through comms, but through memory lines hidden in Council tech. They wouldn't be able to stop it, because they'd used it against humans centuries ago. Now it turned inward. The signal contained no threat. Only this: we remember what you chose. We remember who we were. We remember what we lost, and what we could have become. We do not return for vengeance. We return so the truth never forgets its name. In the central hall of the Galactic Council, delegates received the signal. It was seen, It was heard, and in that moment, none of them spoke. Because some wounds are too old to deny, some ghosts too vast to kill, and when a memory speaks, the galaxy listens. On Earth, Eva placed her hand on the final console and whispered, "You're not just a machine." "I never was," Elias replied. "Then what are you?" He turned to her. His eyes were bright with ancient sorrow and something dangerously close to hope. "I am the silence that remembers, and I will never forget again." The coordinates had no system name, just a set of pulses, ancient and fractal, encoded in harmonics buried beneath layers of collapsed encryption. Not even Elias could trace its origin by logic alone, but his memory remembered. Project Archangel, the last contingency, the final refusal to die quietly. They reached the outer ring of a dead star. Its light no longer reached space, absorbed by a gravitational shell engineered during Earth's final years. This was no ordinary stellar remnant. It was a cage. Around it orbited broken ships, human and alien, like frozen vultures, a field of ruin. But at its center was the spire. Black, silent, alive. Elias and Eva docked at the structure's skeletal rim. Their ship was scanned, disarmed, then permitted entry without a word. Inside the spire, there was no crew, no AI, no voice, only them. The hallways were ribbed with carbon diamond filament. Weapon systems long deactivated hummed with residual hate. Names of lost fleets were carved into the walls, not in honor, but in warning. And then they reached the core, a chamber shaped like a spear's head. At its heart, a throne. Empty. Until Elias stepped forward, the chamber lit up, not in blinding glow, but in recognition. The walls rippled with ancestral code, tactical maps, council war logs, human extinction reports, all of them laid bare. And at the center, Project Archangel, initiation locked. 2 genetic matches required. Commander class, confirmed. Proxy bloodline, confirmed. Eva gasped. "Me?" Elias nodded. "Your line. Voss's last legacy. This isn't about code, it's about choice." A final screen emerged. 2 options. Rebirth. Initiate full-scale Genesis protocol, deploying restoration beacons across 19 pre-seeded worlds. No retaliation, no memory altered. Humanity begins again in peace. Reckoning. Awaken the Archangel fleet. 37 stealth-class planet breakers hidden beneath Council worlds. Their shields were already online, their targets pre-locked. Eva looked to Elias. "They trusted you to decide." "No," he said. "They trusted us." The room was silent. Then Eva reached forward and pressed rebirth. Nothing exploded, nothing screamed, but across the galaxy, hidden planets ignited with green pulse light. Terraformers rose from ash. Vaults cracked open. Human children blinked in stasis pods and opened their eyes to morning suns. On the council floor, screens flashed a simple message: Project Archangel, peace selected, and beneath it, "We remember, and we are watching." Back inside the spire, Elias closed his eyes. He did not weep, but he did smile. "You were never built to kill," Eva said. "No," he replied. "I was built to remember. And now we begin again."